I said before this, in the past, UKIP used to have to factor in, back in the day, that after they got councillors elected, they factored in the fact that they would lose a certain number because they had to, because you can literally Google UKIP councillor suspended and it comes up with a litany of results. And it's all pretty much of them going on unhinged rants in council chambers and everyone going, that's not okay. That's not, how a councillor should be conducting themselves. It's not within our code of conduct. Suspended. Bye-bye. And, of course, I think we've all heard now that one of the Reform councillors, after 3 days, has been suspended. There is now a rumor going around that on that very same council, there are now 2 other Reform candidates also on the chopping block. But what a lot of people don't know is the reason why this person was suspended. And it was for a comment that they made on Twitter. Twitter. And I want to show you not only the comment that she's made, but then we're going to go into the response she has made about being suspended, because it shows you the level of chaos that is going on in Reform UK. That is unsustainable. It will not last. And as I've said before, you cannot run local parties or local politics from like a centrally controlled office in London, which Farage thinks he can do. On this, there is trouble ahead. There is absolute trouble ahead. And Reform UK will not last. Like, they will not last. Because they're in power now in some of these places. You've got Andrea Jenkins saying, yeah, I'm going to sack all the DEI officers. That council has no DEI officers. And oh boy, this is just the start. This is just the start of all this stuff. But we're going to go into her initial comment first of what got her suspended, and then we'll go into a response on this. So, anyway, it's going to get, I think, quite interesting. So before we go on into this, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. Down below, of course, there is the Patreon page, there's the Buy Me Coffee link, there's the YouTube thank you button, and of course, as always, there's the Pony Club down below as well. So thank you very much to everyone who does help and support the channel that way. So what's happened? Well, first of all, we've got to go over to Twitter and have a look at this. And this is Donna Rachel. This is the Reform candidate that has been suspended. And this was apparently what got her suspended. So this is what she had to say. She starts off with, this is why, well, she's actually replying to Rupert Lowe. So she's responding to Rupert Lowe asking about people voting for UKIP, essentially. And Rupert Lowe was like, well, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you should. Maybe you shouldn't. But this is what her response to this tweet was. So, this is why the right always loses, she begins with. Because there is no strategic thinking. Rupert promises there will always be an alternative to reform. But not on Thursday, there won't. Voters think this week they are having to pick between Reform, Tory, and Labour. If Rupert and Ben Habib were thinking strategically, they'd realised that it is in their interest to have a huge body of Reform councillors in place who can be persuaded to defend and carry out their change agenda once all their details are in place. Instead, they are now going to ensure that those councillors are now stuffed full of Tory and Labour councillors who will block every move. Ideals are, of course, great, but there is no point in having ideals if you can't have them enacted in the real world. Rupert and Ben are ensuring their failure of the right here. And then she continues saying, but of course, that doesn't help us at all for this Thursday. This election will be determined by the makeup of councils for the next 4 years, councils who will be crucial now to delivering the change at a local level. Why would you want them stuffed full of Tory and Labour councillors? Someone responds saying, Reform will do the same, only evilly pretending to be something else. To which she responded to, I'm a Reform candidate. I'm waiting for Rupert and Ben to give us a real alternative, and then I'll defect. I'm far from being the only one. And that tweet right there was what got her suspended. The fact that she went, oh, yeah, I'm not a real Reform candidate. I'm just standing as a Reform candidate. But tell you what, if there's a better alternative, I'll defect to it. Not really showing, shall we say, the best party loyalty there. So this now was what came after on this one. This is what, after she'd been announced that she'd been suspended, this is what she's now said on this. So yesterday, she begins with, I woke up feeling very proud to be one of Reform's new councillors. This morning, I woke up now to an email from Reform UK head office advising me that I have been suspended from the party, quote, pending an investigation. And bear in mind, there are supposedly 2 others that are also on there as well. So interesting on that one, isn't it? Who else are these other 2? Well, we don't know, but we know the council has said that there are apparently 2 others. They haven't gone public or anything like that yet, as far as, at least at the time of doing this, I'm as far as I'm not aware at the moment. But yeah, kind of interesting all this is going on. So, why, she continues, because I urged people here on Twitter to lend Reform their support for the short term for Thursday's elections. Yes, give Reform the short term support. You know, just elect them, and then even if they felt they couldn't, of course, for the long term. According, of course, to head office, this has now brought the party into disrepute and damaged the interests of the party. It's a bold move, basically saying, yeah, support the party in the short term, but long term, maybe not. Interesting statement that coming from someone who's supposedly like a Reform candidate, isn't it? So let me, of course, be clear. It is not me who has brought the party into disrepute. The party leadership did when it unceremoniously ditched Ben Habib, and again when they suspended Rupert Lowe, our hardest working and most popular MP back in March. Oof. There is already, you can see deep divisions reforming in Reform. Real deep divisions reforming in Reform over those 2 people. And it is Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe, who, again, since they've been, suspended, and we'll see what happens, because apparently Rupert Lowe is suing Reform, so that'll be very interesting to see what happens in that. But now they're going, well, actually, maybe you shouldn't be backing Reform because they're not the party they claim to be. Kind of interesting that you had those 2 very high-profile people now turning around and saying, yeah, this isn't the party you think it is. Kind of interesting that, isn't it? Oh, yeah, support it for the short term. don't support it long term. There's massive trouble ahead for reform, massive trouble ahead for reform, and it is going to rupture hard. And like I say, this 3 days, honeymoon period over. Honeymoon period well and truly over. So back to this. His suspension now provoked a wave of resignations. Whole branches resigned as one in protest. I was tempted myself, but hoped things might yet improve. The atrocious press conference held a few weeks later, in which former Tory council chairs and Lib Dem councillors were then paraded on stage as Reform's newest recruits, was a step too far. Oh, that's one thing that's very interesting about this. The fact that Reform has recruited former Tory and Lib Dem councillors. And those people are now, well, people like this person here are viewing those people as like the enemy. And we're already hearing reports that there is a lot of friction between these people. So how long till this really begins to rupture? I think this could be quite quick. I think you are seeing right here the seeds of why these Reform councillors and etc. are just going to absolutely end up destroying themselves in many ways. They will bring about their own downfall. So where are we? So bringing on those new recruits was a step too far. These were people who had already been tried and tested as a councillor and had failed to bring meaningful change to their region. So doesn't matter that they've had experience being a councillor, they'd quote failed, because obviously in the eyes of Reform supporters, Tory councillors, absolute failures. Lib Dems, they don't trust them. Full stop. That is where most of those Reform people are coming from. That is why you're going to see a lot of pushback. Anyway, many, of course, Reform supporters feared that the newcomers were only defecting now to save their seats, not for any love of the party or any desire for real change that Britain so desperately needs. I called my branch chair to resign my membership. And then this is also why it gets interesting. He asked me to stay on while they were still struggling to find candidates, out of loyalty to the party at a local level and all the good, hardworking people who merely want to live in a country that works for them. I agreed and remained on the ballot. Yeah, Farage ain't working for you. Farage ain't working for you on that. That's for certain. This campaign has, of course, been a very difficult one. Every resident in my ward who supported Reform, I found another who, of course, wanted an alternative to the failed Tories and vindictive Labour. But they couldn't bring themselves to vote for a party who had behaved so shamefully towards their own. One of my fellow Reform candidates missed out on winning his seat by a mere 15 votes, another by a painful 5 votes. Those are seats on Shropshire Council we should have won, and likely would have won had the party not decided to attack its own. In posting the messages for which I have now been suspended, I was merely trying to control the damage that had already been done. Not by me, but by head office. I love that this is how it's going to go. And it is very obvious, as I said at the beginning of this, Farage has this idea that he can control all those local councillors directly from head office. Like, he will have full control over them. You know, he'll be puppet mastering them. But that's not how local politics works. The reality is that, you know, you've got Westminster there, but each and every council up and down the country is its own individual small Westminster with each various different problems trying to solve. You cannot control almost like 10 different Wild Wests, all very wild in their own differentness from a central point at a head office in London. I keep on saying this. It is not going to work. It is not going to turn out well. It is going to be a disaster. And eventually, wouldn't be surprising me if you start to see these reform councillors start to rebel against at their head office, going, "You're telling me I have to do this in my local area. Well, I'm telling you, if I did that in my local area, it wouldn't work." When are we going to start to hear those conversations? And then what does reform do to that candidate who won't impose that mandate or that crazy idea on their area? Right? It is going to be a disaster. Disaster on this. So where are we? So yes, I was merely trying to control the damage that had only been done, not by me, but by head office. I was attempting now to shore up our vote in the face of now widespread dismay and disillusionment. And that was one thing that the whole Rupert Lowe saga, if you may remember, you saw that. There were a lot of grassroots reform speaking out. Like, why have you done this? Why have you got rid of Rupert Lowe? Like, I'm leaving the party if this happens. Turns out a lot of those people still in there. Massive problem for, reform. And bear in mind, the Rupert Lowe drama is only going to continue. Like, what happens when that lawsuit really starts to pick up? What happens then? Things could get very interesting because part of that lawsuit, one of the reasons why I'm so excited about Rupert Lowe suing, reform is not the actual act itself. It's the fact that during this, what's going to happen is you are going to see exposed the entire inner workings of Reform UK. That is what is so exciting about this case, because that is going to get pried open for the first time ever. We're going to get to see really what goes on behind the scenes. That is what is exciting me about that case. So, but let's finish this off though. So trying to sort out widespread dismay illusion. For that, I've now been treated in the very same way as Ben and Rupert, and by so many, and of course, so many others across the country. Suspension pending disciplinary action. To the head office, you wanted a response to your email so that my quote views can be taken into consideration by the emergency disciplinary panel. Let this post serve as that response. Interesting on that, isn't it? Let me just check. What are I'm just interested now, just in case there's anything here. Rupert Lowe responded. Rupert Lowe responded immediately saying, sorry to hear this, Donna. Wishing you the very best. Ben Habib also responded. Someone's here saying, so you've mentioned all the no-nos of any criticism, however minor. However, necessary means complete excommunication. Nothing surprised here. Someone else telling her to go independent. Someone else says, this is why I also left Reform UK. Their leadership now on so many levels has no integrity or any moral compass. And so proud to say of Donna Rachel that they joined the Heritage Party UK. So if you are looking for a new political home, I might encourage you to do that. Oh, this is interesting. That phrase, once again, she responds to that saying, ha ha ha, that is now the fifth party I've now been urged to support. We really do need to unite the right. Once again, you notice a phrase keeps on popping up like that. So yes, she's going to serve as independent. So yeah, like I say, because of course, I am scrolling on Twitter. I think you can understand why I'm not showing this, just in case there was anything there that might, uh, but yeah, most of them quite in support of them. Um, there's obviously people calling her out, saying basically she would defect from reform at the first opportunity. Um, her defending it, so that's kind of fun as well. Uh, someone calling her a fifth columnist. Um, but yeah, very honestly, very funny. Very funny indeed. Oh, someone someone was saying this because apparently she'd left or she'd had to cancel her like her membership on this. She calls out Reform HQ saying this is completely priceless. Just had an email from Reform HQ telling me that they're going ahead with their disciplinary process, even though I'm no longer a member, in quote, in case I ever rejoin. Um, oh yeah, this is it. So here's the funny thing about all of this. If Reform were a real party with real membership, none of this would be happening. As it is, when I went to cancel my quote membership, all I could do was turn off the payment renewal, which still left me as a member until the year was up. They can't have it both ways. Either it's a real party and canceling your membership really is canceling your membership, at which point, obviously, I would have come off the ballot, or there is now a substantive subscription service, in which case there really are no Reform members at all. Farage just tweeted out our latest membership figures, but how many, like me, have tried to cancel our membership and found that you couldn't? It's again calling out something that's been talked about Reform all the time. Um, oh, and apparently she's done a space. Oh, I wish I knew about that. That would have been fascinating to listen to. Oh, that would have been that would have been interesting to listen to. The craziness going on in that. Can you listen to spaces once they've been done? I don't think you can. I think you've got to listen right in the moment. Hmm. But yeah, interesting, interesting things going on in Reform. Very interesting things. Seeds of their own destruction have been placed, and I will tell you now, they're going to cause their own downfall. They're going to cause their own downfall. Just from that alone, showing just the schisms that already are there. Inevitable. Inevitable. Don't we just love to see it? So, as always, let me know what you think down below. And of course, as always, click the like, share button. And of course, we'll see you all next time. So, until then, we'll see you all very soon.